When you become holy, then you know, you know reality,
Mhm.
right? Now, the longer answer is, how are you going to become holy? Well, you're going to
Mhm.
become holy, first of all, by desiring God with all your heart, soul, and mind, loving Him with all your heart, soul, and mind. That little stand here is very, very flimsy. And also to really be intense about your life, right? So
Mhm.
intense about your prayer life, intense about reading the Gospels, intense about reading the Psalter. It's a discipline that almost nobody knows except the Orthodox. Everybody should read the Psalter. Everybody should read the Gospels every day. Everybody should do prostrations. Everybody should, come to the services and know them and should prepare for the holy mysteries, etc. All these things. So having an intense prayer life is really critical. Now, rattling off some things from the book or listening to them in your car as you're going to work, that's not going to cut it. You have to have an intense prayer life. Everybody really should learn to pray the Jesus prayer and learn to pray with some intensity. And as you're doing that, then you're starting to change. Your heart, your soul's starting to change. God is enlightening you. You can't do anything. I can't do anything without God's help. Nothing, nothing. So all enlightenment comes from God. I mean, St. Seraphim was on a rock for 1,000 days and nights, and he said, "Oh Lord, enlighten my darkness." That's all he said. But that's what we need to do too. So how do you, that's the, all that long-term stuff. But in a practical level, on a daily basis, you have a decision to make. Is it right or wrong? Well, first of all, don't believe any kind of visions. Don't believe dreams. Don't believe intuitions and stuff like that. Uh, Hopefully, you'll have a spiritual father that will counsel you. And if you don't, then you pray about things. You pray. Like when I came down to Dallas. Before I came down to Dallas, I was told to pray the Akathist to either the Theotokos or Christ 40 days in a row with fasting. Okay. When my spiritual father told me to do that, it was literally just bef- just before Holy Week. So he said, "Don't do it now. Wait until after Bright Week, then start fasting." So literally, I had 1 week of no fasting, and then I had fasting, and then I had the Apostles' Fast, because by that time it was time of the Apostles' Fast, right? So I fasted a lot that year. And full disclosure, he told me every day you say or you do 40, right? Well, we ended up doing 45 days. We didn't do it every day. Marina and I together did it, or sometimes she did it most of the time, whatever. I don't remember the whole breakdown. But after that, it just seemed like this was God's will for us. So we had prayed the Akathist for 40 days with fasting, or 45 days with fasting, and we tried to discern God's will. So a lot of patience in discerning God's will. If you think you have some vision or something, uh, 99% of the time you're wrong, and the other
Mhm.
1%, you're right, but you're right because the devil wants you to start to believe in him, right? To believe that this vision is correct, and he gives you something true, but then later on, he's playing the long game. He's going to get you with something else. So we just don't believe visions and dreams and things like that.
What about certain symbols? So, for example, I did actually have a really interesting dream once that felt it was like a very intense dream that involved a hawk, and I've seen that hawk many times. And again, maybe it's just I'm like looking for it. Maybe it's like some sort of like conscious kind of uh kind of thing there. But
You're
I've
seeing the hawk
sometimes.
with your eyes during the day, like you see it in the sky or something?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes when I'm like asking myself something, like, or if I'm sort of trying to inquire, and I'll ask God for something, I'll see it, like almost, almost at the same time. And sometimes I'm like, maybe this is God me telling me, yeah, this is the way. But then now you're telling me, like, no, that could be,
I
wrong.
wouldn't
So how do we
believe
make
such a
that
thing.
distinction?
I wouldn't believe it. I would just say I wouldn't believe it.
I
I
see.
I just wouldn't believe it because if God wants to communicate with you, he's going to do
Hmm.
it. It's
Right.
he can't be stopped. And if
Hmm.
you think it's a hawk, well, I mean, a demon could look like a hawk.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I'm sure that there's times when a hawk is really a hawk and
Hmm.
God is showing you something through a hawk. I'm sure of that. But I'm also sure that, you and I generally don't have the discernment to know such things. So,
Exactly.
I encounter all the time people who want to believe their dreams, their visions, etc. Just don't do it. God will communicate with you if you uh if you need to be communicated with,
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, I wouldn't believe the hawk. I just wouldn't. I mean, really intense prayer life, especially the Jesus prayer, trying to learn the prayer of the heart, which is not easy, but it's simple but not easy. And the steps of it are very simple but not easy. Struggling against your passions, trying to end distractions in your life, not using your thumbs so much, right? I don't actually use my thumbs. I use my forefinger. I'm one of the few
You're more
ones.
old school that way.
I'm old school. I'm old school with a cell phone, if there's such a thing. I don't know if you can say old school, but I don't use my thumbs. But most people use their thumbs, right? I
Mhm.
don't understand how they can do it, but anyway, I mention thumbs in sermons all the time. I say, if the cell phone is just it's gonna steal from you, and binging stuff on whatever some social media platform is gonna steal from you. The more we're intense, the more we know God's will. What was the story about Elias, right? Elias, he kills all the prophets of Jezebel, right? The prophets of Baal, right? And then he goes and he's underneath the tree, and the raven comes and feeds him. And then he goes 40 days to Mount Horeb or Mount Sinai, same mountain. And then he encounters what is it? Is it a flood, a fire, and a wind? And
Mhm.
breaking the trees and everything. God's not any of those things. And then God is in that little tinkling, the little small wind that goes and sort of rustles the leaves on the tree. Then he wraps his face in his mantle and everything, and God is in that breeze. Well, you can't hear a breeze if you're making a ruckus,
Mm.
right? You can't hear it. So if you're not quiet in your heart, how can you hear God? So to me, if you want to know God's will, the long answer is become pure in heart, right? Then you can really discern God's will. And then God could tell you things and you could just know them, right? You could have discernment. But I don't have that kind of discernment. I have enough discernment to know I don't have that discernment,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I suppose it's a frustrating answer for some people, but you learn God's will through experiencing God and changing,
Mhm.
right?